had adopted an African-American boy. And we decided that we were going to go into the schools. And first of all, talk about the African culture. And then we found the stories. And the stories told us so much about culture for all children and opportunities for all children. So we started going around as a team telling stories, and that lasted for several years. Then I was out, she moved, and I was out of the framework pretty much because I was teaching full-time. I would go to the libraries on occasion, and for many years, and still have done some storytelling around the community. I want children to, when I tell a story, I want children to be able to visualize the characters themselves. But there are times when I don't want them to be thinking about Barbies or dolls that wet or Ken dolls or something like that. I want them to think about this stuff. When I talk about a calabash, which a child may not know, I can show this and tell them that for the purpose of our story, it's cut in half. But otherwise, they wouldn't know what a calabash is. So I'm going to tell a story that many children now know in the public schools. They say, often when I've gone in, they say, oh, we have that in our library. So I think it's wonderful for them to hear it again and again and again. These stories go back so far, and they go back to a time when there were no stories on this earth at all. All of the stories were owned by the sky god, and he kept them in a golden box right by his royal footstool. Now there's the trickster Anansi, who sometimes is a man who has the characteristics of a spider, and sometimes it's the reverse. This time he has both. And Anansi decided that he wanted to take the stories from the sky god and bring them down to earth so that the children and the villagers could all share in them. So he climbed up to the sky god's home, and he said, oh, Nyami, I want to take the stories down to earth. Now, Nyami, who was a large man who sat there, and he said, tweet, Anansi, you are too little. You are too small to do the things that you would have to do for my stories. You would have to bring me Osebo the leopard with the terrible teeth, and Mamboro the hornets that sting like fire, and Watia the fairy whom men have never seen. Oh, I'll do it. I can do it. And again, the sky god said, if you do, I will keep my promise. And so Anansi went back down to earth, and he went leaping through the jungle, until he came to Osebo, the leopard with the terrible teeth. Now, it was lunchtime, and Osebo saw this little Spider-Man coming up to him, thinking, he could be my lunch. Wouldn't be much of a lunch, but it would be a little lunch. And Osebo said to him, Jambo, Osebo, would you like to play a game with me? Now, this game would be, I would tie you by your foot, and by your foot, and by your foot, and by your foot. And after I would be through with you, then I'd untie you, and you can have a turn to tie me up. Oh, Osebo said, I'll play his game, but then I'll eat him. So Osebo was tied by Anansi. The foot, by his foot, by his foot, and by his foot. And when he was through, do you think he let him go? Come on, kids.
No.
Oh, no. He took him and he tied him upside down from a banana tree. And then he laughed and he said, now, Osebo, you are ready to meet the sky god. Well, now he had had to go and catch the hornets the men had never seen. He thought for a while, and he went through the jungle very quietly. Sora, 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 until he came to some water. And he took his calabash, and he scooped up the water, and then went to the hornet's nest. And he said, "Oh, Mamboro, Mamboro, it's raining, it's raining," as he poured the water over his head in the nest. And he said, "Come, fly into my calabash so your wings won't get torn." And they all came buzzing, 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 as fast as they could, and flew into the calabash. And then Anansi just took the part of it, and he stopped them up, and he took them to where he had Osebo the leopard. And he tied the hornets to the banana tree. Now he had one more thing to do, and that was to get Watia, the fairy, who men had never seen. And he took a piece of wood, and he carved a doll, this. And at the foot of the doll, he put a bowl of candied yams. And then he took some sticky substance from the tree and put it all over the doll. And then he took a string and hid behind the tree and waited for Mamboro, waited for Watia to come. And pretty soon the fairy came dancing, dancing, dancing out of the forest. And when she saw the doll and the food below, she said, "Oh, Jambo, come, baby. May I have some of your yams? I'm so hungry." And the doll nodded her head. Well, she took the doll, and she ate the yams from the bowl, and then she said, "Thank you. Thank you for the food." But the gum baby said nothing. I said, "Thank you. When I say thank you to you, you're supposed to say you're welcome." The doll said nothing. "If you don't thank me, I'm going to slap you across your crying place." And of course, the doll said nothing. So she slapped the doll, and her hand stuck. And then Watia became angry, and she said, "You let me go, or I'm going to slap you across your other crying place." And of course, the doll said nothing. She slapped her. And then she was stuck. She was so angry that she said, "I am going to kick you." And she kicked the doll, and she was completely stuck to the tree. And Anansi came out from behind the hiding place. He took the doll with the fairy stuck to it, and he took them to where he had Osebo and Watia and Moesha, and he took them all up to the sky god. And he said, "Oh, sky god, I have brought you what you asked for. Here is Osebo, the leopard with the terrible teeth, and Mamboro, the hornets that sting like fire, and Watia, the fairy, whom men have never seen." Now the sky god was a man of his word, and he had said that if Anansi brought all of these things to him, he would give him the stories. And so Anansi took the box, the golden box, and he brought it back down to earth. And when he reached his village, he called all of the people, the children, the adults, and he opened the box. And when he opened that box, the stories flew all over the world, including the one I've just told you.